Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Purushottama Vidya, Purushottama Yogam. Sloka 15, Part 10. Sarvasya cāhaṁ hṛdi sanniviṣṭo mattaḥ smṛtir jñānam apohanaṁ ca vedaiś sarvair aham eva vedyo vedānta-kṛd veda-vid cāham. In the previous session, we learnt about the lakshanam, the characteristic or the definition of shabda pramana. That sentence which is not made by a non-apta is shabda pramanam. This Veda is apurusham, means that which is not said by Purusha. When we hear apurusham, we must not conclude that it is not created by the humans, Purusha, but created by non-human, or who doesn't fall under the human category, which is God. God is not ordinary Purusha. Therefore, apurusha can be wrongly understood that it is the Lord who created the Vedas. Let's understand much more deeper on this topic. First thing, when we hear that Vedas are not said by humans, the question comes in our mind, how can this be true? When we see it is the Purushas, the humans, who are reciting the Vedas. They are the one who telling the Vedas. A teacher teaches to his student. The student learns from his teachers and he teaches to his students. Therefore we can see the parampara. How can we say Vedas are not said by Purushas? How can we say it is apurusham? What we need to understand here is apurusham means it is not taught or created by anyone. That is known as apurusham. For example, I think of something first before I speak, and then the sentence comes out, produced. Let's take an example. I want to go to school in 5 minutes. Or I can say the same, in 5 minutes I want to go to school. Or I can say, it is 10 to 8, I want to go to school. Or I can say, 8 o'clock, I want to go to school. There is various ways I can convey this message. All these various ways comes from my thought first and then produced as speech next. Therefore, it is called Purushyam, that which is created by a living entity through its thought process. Whereas apurusham means it is not through the thought process or the intelligence of any living entities. It did not get created by someone's intelligence or thoughts. Vedas are known as apurusham because it is not created by anyone's thought or intelligence. It's been always present and presented as it is. Therefore, Vedas are apurusham. We really have to know what this means. Otherwise, generally people will mistake that it is apurusham because it is created by non-human, which is none other than God himself. But that is not the right way of understanding apurusham. Why? Because Vedas are eternal. Never was a time where Vedas were created by someone's thought or by intelligence, buddhi. It is not even created by the thought or intelligence of God. If it did, then the Vedas cannot be eternal, which is not the right statement. Vedas are eternal. Then the next question comes, how do you say the Vedas are nityam, eternal. Vedas are Shabda Pramanam. Shabda means sound. How can sound be eternal? As per Vedanta, Shabdam, the sound element, is not eternal. When I say Namaste, that sound which got produced only stays for few moments and then it is destroyed. Then how come we say Vedas are Nityam? Its sound doesn't constantly and continuously keep vibrating. We don't hear continuous vibration, sound vibration of Vedas. Then how come Vedas said they are Nityam? Answer is, yes, it doesn't vibrate continuously and constantly, but in the Vedas there are sequences of sentences. One sentence connects to the another sentence connects to the next sentence, and so forth. There is a proper sequence. This continuous sequence is called Anupurvi. That Anupurvi, the sequence, will never ever change. That Anupurvi is Nityam. The sequence the Vedas are said is same everywhere. That never changes. If a guru teaches the Vedas to his disciple, the disciple grasps the sequence of what has been said to him by the guru, and the disciple teaches to his disciple in the same sequence, and this continues. This Anupurvi never change. It's always eternal. Now that arises another question. Yes, we can understand the sequence continues, but this continues as long as the world exists. What happens at the point of next srishti, next creation? That is, the world get destroyed and recreated several times. Now that sequence which is being followed can be accepted as long as the world exists. At one point of time, this world will be destroyed and another world will be created, which means the sequencing will end when this world finishes. What will happen to the next world which gets created? How that sequencing of the Vedas get transferred? How does it continue from one srishti to another srishti? Because between two creation there is a pralaya period where there is no activities happens. No one will be reciting the Vedas in the sequence. The answer is, when nothing exists, during the pralaya, where no human to recite the Vedas, during the pralaya period, the Lord continues to recite the Vedas within his heart continuously. Then, when the creation happens next time, by the will of the Lord, the first living entity, Brahma, is born, and to that Brahma, Lord instructs the Vedas in the same sequence that it has been recited eternally. So the Vedas are eternal. Nityam doesn't mean that it is being recited by someone all the time or others by all the time. It doesn't mean that one person is reciting it all the time. Therefore it is Nityam. It means that the sequence it is being recited never changes at any time. Therefore the Vedas are said to be Nityam. One may ask, what is the accuracy of the Vedas? We can go into a long list to show the accuracy of the Vedas. But our sages and saints like Valmiki and Vyasa have time and again tested the accuracy of the Vedas and Shastras by direct experience and confirmed the authority of what they have experienced. We must trust them because they had no ulterior motives, nothing to gain for themselves, except for the satisfaction of sharing their experiences with rest of mankind and for the benefit of mankind. Therefore, for whatever cannot be perceived by direct experience, that is through pratyaksha, or whatever cannot be inferred, that is through anumana, we must turn to Shabda Pramana, authority of sound contained in the Vedas and the scriptures supplementing them. It may be questioned how Shabda, sound, could have such an effect. Let's see some scenarios to understand how sound can have a greater effect. Say, in a theater, audience deeply absorbed in watching some performance, a music or a dance or a drama. They are deeply involved in the performance. They have been captivated by the performance. Suddenly, someone screams, "Snake! Snake!" What happens? The audience runs hither and thither on just hearing the mere sound of snake, though most of them would have not seen one. Let's take a second case. Someone mentioned some dirty, disgusting thing when you are about to enjoy a delicious treat placed in front of you. How repelled you become, how you develop nausea and total dislike of the food for no fault of the food or your taste buds, merely on hearing the dreaded sound. This happens. Another case. Mother is said to be certainty who points to a person as the father of the child. Mother says, "This is your father." This is an example of the power of the spoken word of a trustworthy person. Let's take a fourth case. When we say to our boss, "Go to hell," he is not going to go to hell. Rather, out of anger, he will make our job hellish. That's the power of the uttered word. Not only that, there are many research that has proved that soul-stirring music can cure diseases. Just to state few, Hindola Ragam purifies blood and also helps in reduction of blood pressure. Bhairavi Raga helps patients who has cancer, cold, sinus, toothache and TB. Whereas Darbar Raga eases the tension. This is just to mention few. Whereas in other hand, rock music, metallic music can injure health on the physical and psychological plane. So this is another instance to know the effect of sound. Also, modern science research shows that of all the faculties a fetus develops in the womb, the first one relates to the faculty of hearing. This was also confirmed in Puranas like Bhagavatam. When we read the story of Bhakta Prahlad, who heard the advice of Sri Narada even while he was an infant in his mother's womb, which made him stand like a rock in the steadfastness of bhakti to Lord Narayana. against the torture he was subjected by his father Hiranyakashipu. What we have mentioned here, few cases, are just to make us understand the power of sound. Vedas are in the form of sounds expressed and pronounced in a particular manner, constituting Natha Brahman, the Lord, in the form of sound of music, with profound effect on man's mind and matter. So, Shabda Bodham is a sequence of words which makes a sentence. Upon hearing a sentence, for us to understand its meaning, there are some prerequisites without which Shabda Bodham cannot arise. It is said there are 4 prerequisites. One is akanksha, another one is yogyata, and the third one is sannidhi, and the fourth one is tatparyam. It's not hard to understand these 4, it's pretty easy. Akanksha means a mutual expectancy between words. A verb cannot stand alone. It needs a noun. Similarly, a noun expects a verb. When we just utter a noun or a verb alone, we won't get any knowledge of it. There's no Shabda Bodham. Only when the noun and verb are together, it gives us some knowledge. That's one type of akanksha. Another one is within a verb itself, the root expects a suffix and the suffix expects the root. Say walking. If we just say ing, removing the walk, it doesn't make any sense. If we remove ing and just say walk, that doesn't give a complete understanding. And even there, we need to have an exact suffix that is expected by the root. Substituting even a synonym will not work. We can't say walk present tense. Using present tense instead of ing is not going to make any sense. Walking, walk plus ing will give us Shabda Bodham. Walk present tense will not give Shabda Bodham. Therefore, we must identify those words without which a word cannot cause Shabda Bodham. This mutual expectancy between the words or within the word called akanksha. This should be satisfied to create the Shabda Bodham. Second one, the second requirement is yogyata. That is, we can't say a sentence which does not make sense, a nonsensical sentence. The meaning of the sentence being possible makes it yogyata. If I were to say he is wetting the cloth with fire, the listener would not get Shabda Bodha from this statement, because he already knows that it is not possible to wet something with fire. Therefore, Shabda Bodha to arise, we must first realize the possibility of the potential Shabda Bodha to be true. That is, we must not have conclusion that directly contradicting the meaning of the sentence. The third one is sannidhi, the continuous utterance of the words. The words in a sentence must be uttered in a proximity to one another, and the listener should be able to grasp them all at once. Let's see an example. If I want to say Rama killed Ravana, so I'm starting to say that sentence, but what I do is I say Rama now. at this time. And after a couple of hours, I say killed. And later, after 4-5 hours, I say Ravana. Then the listener will not get Shabdabodham, will not get the knowledge of what we are trying to say, because there is no proximity between the words that's been used to form the sentence. Therefore, knowledge of proximity is also required. That is called sannidhi. And lastly, tātparya. It is important to know the intent of the speaker in order to get the proper knowledge, proper Shabdabodha. Intent of the speaker is called tātparyam. Let's see an example. Saindvam. Saindvam means, has a couple of meanings. One is horse, another one is salt. Salt is called as Saindvam. Horse is also called as Saindvam in Sanskrit. Say, I'm cooking and I need some salt. Then I tell someone to get us salt. I'm saying, bring Saindvam. Now the listener brings the horse because he did not understand the intent of the speaker. Well, take another case. I want to ride a horse and I tell someone, bring Saindvam. At that time, that person brings salt instead of horse. Therefore, based on the circumstances of the speaker, his or her tātparyam, intent, must be understood, and using that, the meaning of the sentence can be cognized. So, for us to have the Shabdabodha, the 4 prerequisites are akanksha, the mutual expectancy between words, yogyata, the meaning of the sentence being possible, not nonsensical, sannidhi, the continuous utterance of the word without breaks and gaps, they have to be in proximity, and tātparyam, the intent of the speaker should be understood. So the proposition called vakya are of 2 types, laukika and vaidika. Laukika are those uttered by people of this world. Vaidika are sentences in the Vedas and the other scriptures. When these are spoken by non-aptas, people who are not trustable, then they are not pramanam. That sentence which is not made by a non-apta is Shabda Pramanam. In our next session, we'll learn about the list of various scriptures that falls under Shabda Pramanam.
Namaste. Hare Krishna.